Been so excited about this. I heard about it months and months and months ago. Finally got it in the mail the other day. This is the Acoustic Sounds Analogue Productions UHQR pressing of Jimi Hendrix's Axis Bold as Love. I haven't touched it. I haven't opened it. It's been hard, but we're going to do it now. I'm joined here by my buddy Jeffrey Lee Puckett, one of my favorite audiophiles for many, many reasons. When I told him about this, he said, let's open it up, put it on the big rig.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to do. All right, here we go.
I'm almost as excited as you are.
Well, yeah, it's not
I'm
yours.
more excited I didn't pay for it.
See, I thought because you didn't own it, you'd be less excited, but that's fair. This was not cheap.
Well, you know, I've never been able to get one of the one-steps or anything before they sold out. So this is actually the first one I've seen in person.
Okay.
So that is plenty enough for me.
Here we go.
Wow.
Oh. Oof. Look at this.
Wow.
Oh, it's so big.
I'm already happy. Oh, it's a book.
Yeah, look at that.
It's a
Look
book.
at that. See how thick that is? Oh, number 2783.
My gosh. Out of how many did they make? 5,000?
They made 5,000 total. I think they made 3,500 stereo and 1,500 mono.
That sounds right.
That may be accurate.
And this is which one?
So this is the stereo because, of course, the mono sold out, I think, in a day or two when they announced it, which was about a year and a half before the record even came out. All right, so let's. I'm going to be very gentle with this now.
I'm really torn on mono versus stereo for this album. I have the Legacy mono edition, and I really enjoy it. But those stereo effects, the panning,
Oh, yeah.
the 12-year-old in me wants to hear those all day long.
Now, I know some folks are going to be really upset that I just jerked this off with all the hype stickers, but you know what? I'm calling you out right now. I don't care. All right. Here we go.
Woo!
Oh.
Man,
Everything is so luxe.
they give you your money's worth.
Yeah, that's
Easily.
the thing. All right, we have
Wow.
the technical specifications manual for the new UHQR from Analogue Productions and Quality Record Pressings. Look at that.
I've never gotten a record with a manual.
I am so excited about this. I'm going to have to read through all of this later. Oh, it looks so beautiful. And you can tell with all the photos of the production exactly why it took so long for Chad to get this right. Uh-oh. If you hadn't seen, here's what's next is a UHQR.
Is that Aqualung?
See how that goes. Now these, of course, if you want to buy more Analogue Productions swag, you can do that. But here
Definitely one of my favorite reissue.
is the booklet with a bunch of photos,
Whoa.
some of which you've seen maybe, but I think the majority of these are unseen. Brand new liner notes and everything about the release, the story behind it. Oh, this is just so beautiful.
Does it have an easily accessible credit? Oh, there it is. Brad Talinsky.
Yes. You know Brad
I
Talinsky?
did not know Brad.
Oh man, this is just
That's nice.
This is amazing. I saw this, in October at Making Vinyl. I don't remember it being this nice. Maybe it was because it was a prototype. I'm not sure, but this just looks so beautiful. And here's
Look at that, your certificates of
That's
authenticity.
how you know that I didn't lie. This isn't some knockoff. This is a real UHQR straight from the pressing plant. Now, all that stuff's cool. All that stuff's nice, but that's all preamble.
To the record, to the music.
Oh, yeah. Let's crack this open here.
Oh, it actually did crack.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
That is something.
So since this is going on your turntable, I'm going to let you open it up, take it out for
Really?
the first time.
Oh, God bless you, sir. What if it came out in just this crappy paper sleeve?
I would get my money back.
Oh. Now this is
yeah.
Clarity vinyl, which is hand-selected PVC
Right.
with no additives. They throw out any little pellets that don't meet the standards.
Yeah, and this is a special formulation
Ooh.
that the folks at QRP I think, created specifically for not just this release, but all the UHQRs to come.
It's so pearly.
Mm.
And the thing, I read up a little bit on this process, and they're perfectly flat pressings.
Yeah.
Most records, there's a little hill and valley that they travel. So it really does impact the way your stylus stays in the groove as it goes along the record. This maintains a 100% flat, so you get the best tracking possible.
Yeah, and you, if you have a copy, if you're lucky enough to get a copy, you'll notice most records have a little lip here on the end, which is barely noticeable, but
it's there.
Is noticeable.
But this one does not.
Nothing there. Totally flat. And that makes the process harder and more time consuming and obviously more expensive.
These are pressed by hand, one at a time.
Yeah. And it takes so much longer to press them, not just because it's one at a time. They're pressed in the grooves deeper than you normally do because, a lot of 180 gram releases, they don't really need to be 180 gram. They're not.
It's marketing.
Yeah, they're not actually pressed properly, but this on 200 gram clarity vinyl, they did it right. They did every single step of this perfectly. Well, I guess we're about to find out.
Yes, we are. All the tubes are warmed up.
All right, here we go.
Turntable is warmed up. I should have pushed that in with my chin just to really irritate people. All right.
Let's go.
We're gonna. Nice. Normally, I would clean this first. I'm a little anal retentive about that. But I have such faith in Clarity Vinyl that I think we're just going to get the dust off and then get our rocks off with some Jimi Hendrix. I didn't hear anything but
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to radio station EXP. Tonight we are featuring an interview with a very peculiar-looking gentleman who goes by the name of Mr. Paul Caruso on the dodgy subject of are there or are there not flying saucers, or UFOs.
All right, we're back. We're joined by Bob Bradley. He's been the man behind the camera, also an esteemed member of the YouTube vinyl community. Check out his channel, Bob Bradley. A lot of good record collecting finds on that channel for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, we've just had a listen to the UHQR version of Axis Spelled as Love. We also did a comparison with my extremely minty first US pressing and with the, I think, 2010 mono reissue from the Hendrix estate. We have some very, I think, uniformly developed ideas about this.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear if we're going to rank them. The UHQR pressing, am I wrong, guys?
No, it's number one.
Head and shoulders above. As soon as we put it on, it had been on, 45 seconds? And Jeff, you said money well spent. So without having heard almost any music, it was already instantly clear that the record was worth $100.
Yeah, the transparency to the source is what killed me. I felt like I was listening to, I've never heard a master tape, but there was a feeling that you were listening to a master tape.
It's like, you can literally hear him hitting the outside of the hat and closing them and getting more of that bell sound. I mean, it's really extreme, the detail that is on that record.
And you guys on Spanish Magic Castle, you'd heard something that you hadn't heard before.
Yeah.
I was in the next room getting booze, so I missed it. But there was a piano.
No, it's hard to say.
We're not even sure because we were just so taken by it.
During the loudest parts, during the heavy riff of the song, there's kind of almost like a low drone note that's behind everything. listen to the first press, it seemed like a lot of the definition of a lot of the instruments were kind of
It's messier sounding.
Yeah, it's like they're kind of melted together a bit.
Yeah, a little more muddled.
So you're
not muddled.
Right.
To be clear,
It sounds good. I mean,
it
if I
does.
hadn't heard the UHQR,
Well, it's
I would have
almost
been
like-
fairly happy.
it's-
and I have been.
It seems like to me there's almost like a
not
pretty
anymore.
pleasant kind of distortion on the first pressing that kind of blends everything together, you know, but especially on the bass, you lose
Yes.
a lot of the attack.
Yes.
You know, like
Exactly.
the high-end attack on the bass
That was
was really
Definite.
obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there were just so many tiny moments where it really felt like you were there when they were laying down the track. And I mean, not every single moment felt that way, but there were some moments where you close your eyes and it just transported you to the studio. It was bizarre. I've only had that experience like in a true, real way, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times. This was one of them.
Yeah.
It was just immaculate. And then there was a moment, that we listened to on all 3 pressings where the track goes dead.
If 6 was 9,
Yeah.
there's a moment where everyone stops.
And it felt like there was a vacuum. I think it was the
I felt like
phrase
I
you
leaned
used.
forward when it hit that part. It was just like,
Yeah. The sound dropped out and it really felt like it sucked the air out of the room.
Yeah.
And it was just instantly noticeable. We all perked up and kind of... It felt like we all just had like a little moment where we needed to check our pants or something. You know, it was kind of like that. What just happened?
But to me, it felt like if you were seeing a band live and they were really getting after it, and then all of a sudden, bam, they come to that stop.
I don't care. I don't care. This, 'cause I got my own words to live through. And I ain't gonna copy you. White collar conservative flashing down the street, pointing their plastic finger at me. And all but soon my cattle drop a dime. I'm gonna wave my free flag.
On both pressings, obviously there's the clarity. There was like no noise when they dropped out on the UHQR.
Yeah.
On the other 2 pressings, on one, I think it was on the mono, there was almost no noise floor, so you didn't really hear any noise, but it just was not the same. In fact, it took me a second to even realize, oh, this is that moment that we've been talking
Right.
about.
Yeah.
Even though it was still quiet. So it wasn't just that the amount of clarity made it feel quiet so you noticed it. It was exactly like you said. It felt like you were in the room, and usually that happens and people scream not just because the music stops, but because you watch the band do it.
Boom,
and
yeah.
seeing it is what brings out that joy. It was just amazing.
I would say that listening to it, to me, felt like almost like being in the control room during the session and just kind of hearing it like as they're doing it almost. It's like, it's a really surreal thing where it's like you're hearing all that separation and all that detail come off of that record, and it's just like, holy smokes, it's something special, I would say.
And Bob is a guitarist. I'm going to say a pretty good guitarist. I'm going to say he's a good guitarist.
Been doing it for a long time.
He noted at one point that he was hearing stuff that Hendrix was doing that had not been evident before.
That is true. And not only that, but like, I think it's a shame that the record is in such limited quantities, because I think any tan-pantsed, polo shirt wearing blues jam guy would love to hear that version of Little Wing, because it is spectacular. And there's these little bell sounds that seem so prominent in the track that
I thought they were new.
that listening to the first press versus that the UHQR, it's almost as if you're listening to a different mix.
Yeah.
It's that dramatic.
But you're just listening to the mix as intended.
Right, it's not a different mix.
No, at all.
The quality is just such that
Yeah.
you assume it's not the same.
Well, it is really shocking because that gets into the idea of the making mothers and pressing off of those mothers and how much sound you lose each time that happens.
Yeah. Sean, I just want to say that I'm happy for you. Also, I truly hate you. I'll probably never get a copy of this record for less than a mortgage payment.
I mean, I have seen some on Discogs already going for $300, and that's the stereo pressing. The mono, I think folks are already listing it for about $5. So I guess it depends on how good of a mortgage you got.
You know, funny thing about that is when I found out we were going to do this and I started kind of reading about it and stuff, I thought, oh, I'm going to pick one of those up.
Nope.
No, I was a bit too late on that. So
Yeah, I
pretty serious.
I have never paid this much for a single LP before, which probably speaks to my cheapness, not to a lack of provenance as a record collector so much as my general cheapness.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Because I've got plenty of records that were not cheap, just not $100, and I would have probably paid $150 easily for it. Just after having listened to it, it's worth every penny. I remember buying it and thinking to myself, this might be a mistake, because they didn't send this to me for free because I work for Discogs. I paid for it myself. I knew it would be worth it to have this experience, but I didn't know if it would be just worth it to hear randomly on a Wednesday afternoon when I just want to listen to something.
Right.
100% worth $100.